So my name is Sam Panetta. I co-founded Aureus Financial about 3 years ago now, and I'm the head of the lending department here at Aureus. Yeah, well, it was very interesting. It was very interesting how we came to work together, because we've obviously been working with you since day one when we first launched the business. Prior to launching Aureus, I was a finance broker and I was doing everything myself. So I had no team, and anyone who's a finance broker understands the amount of work that goes into any one given loan. So when I left my previous role doing all the work myself and started Aureus, I knew from day one that I wanted to have a team. So we built the systems, we built the processes, we had your guys come on board to start with, a couple to start with, and we've basically built the entire lending business and the bigger Aureus business completely around having offshore team. Just the workload. So I think when you're trying to do everything yourself and you don't have a team, there's two big issues. Number one is the time constraint, right? When you're only one man or one woman, you can only do so much work in any given day. You've only got so many hours in a day. So that's one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is when you're working by yourself, you've obviously got systems and processes in your mind, but systems and your processes in your mind are next to useless. You can't scale that. Having the offshore team gives you the time back and forces you to systemize and improve your business. A lot of brokers, they'll work 10, 12, 14 hours a day. They'll work on weekends. When you're working those sort of hours, one of the problems is you start to become less productive because you're not supposed to work that hard. And number two, you don't want to do that over long periods of time. It's just not a good lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? Especially for someone like me, I've got two young kids. I've got a 1-year-old and a 1-month-old. So if I was spending my weekends working and I was in the office 14 hours a day, it's not very conducive to watching your daughters grow up and things like that. If you're trying to do everything yourself, that you're not really running a business, you're just working for 100 different bosses. In so many ways, our entire business is built around having the team and having the offshore support. I'm still currently the only broker here at Aureus. That the plan for that, over the next 6 months is to begin to onboard brokers, but our back end systems have been completely mapped out, and we've grown to having 4 offshore staff now helping us out, with every single one of them having tasks and responsibilities at each stage. Do you know what I mean? So the business and offshoring is one in the same now, and that is to the point where it's so mapped out and so strategic. Any other brokers that will be able to bring on board as they begin to hit their own capacity for volume, we've already got the blueprint on how they scale their own little mini brokering businesses within ours. You got to answer that in a roundabout way. So I don't think it saves you money, because you actually have to spend money to bring on team, right? But it allows you to make more money, which in turn means more trail, more revenue, and what should be larger profit margins. Do you know what I mean? So I think the answer to that is, I don't think you're saving money. I think you're earning considerably more and you're making a higher profit, which is much better than trying to save your way to a successful business. And there's just so many stuff when it comes to finance. There's so many tasks that are repeatable. Do you know what I mean? They're lists, they're check boxes, they're things that can be repeated over and over again, and they're very similar for every single deal. So you can train someone, you can teach someone how to handle those responsibilities. So the point we've got it at now, we've got it on track to do $10 million months in terms of settlements. So now we've built the systems and the processes to have the offshore team help in every specific area. We map them out, and our team goal is to achieve the top target, the sales of the leads, and then if we maintain our conversion rates, it should filter down month over month to all the way down through to settlements and cash in the bank. And that's probably the biggest thing that we've done now, is now that it's all mapped out, we know, okay, these are our conversion rates, we've proven it, it's turn the tap on up here, and let's watch it filter down over the next 120 days to settlements and cash in the bank. It's been a iteration over time. So it's obviously taken the couple of years that we've been in business to get it to where it is now, but it's been consistently improving it over time. Like when we first started, it was a matter of getting the what are the least difficult tasks that require the most amount of hours. All right, and then they're the first things that got taken or off my hands or outsourced to the other guys in the team, and then we've done more and more of those until we've got it to the point now where nearly every single task in the lending process has someone else in the team that's trained to do it. So anything that's not critical for a broker to do has a backup with someone else in the team that's been trained on the task as well. So it's improved over time with how much we've been able to outsource. I think the biggest thing for someone who's outsourcing is, number one, to understand why you're doing it, and then to be prepared to invest the time and the energy to build it out, and then to keep pushing forward with it and reap the results of it. To me, it's a no-brainer. Do you know what I mean? As I said, the whole business has been built around it, but you have to understand what you're trying to achieve from it, and basically invest the time and the energy as if it was any other team member that you will bring into the business. So when we first started, and I was training the offshore team members, all I was doing was doing my work and having Zoom meetings, sharing my screen, and then basically talking everyone through what we were doing. Do you know what I mean? How these tasks were to be allocated. You know, if any brokers out there in brokerland would understand, if you're doing a CPD or a valuation or a product comparison, or all these little things, you can teach that over Zoom. But I invested a lot of time in who is in Renz, who is now our basically our head of lending offshore, and the past couple of hires that we've had have all been trained by Renz. Do you know what I mean? He's got the skill set now. When we onboard someone, he trains up all the new team members, and there's a very little time or investment from me, and that's how you begin to have a scalable business. Do you know what I mean? So you only need those first one or two, and then after that, it's smooth sailing. I think it's going to be the scalability of it. So for my stuff now, I think I've probably got 90% or more of the entire lending process mapped out and systemized. There's probably about 10% of it that I still do, but the beauty is here is once I start to hire onshore brokers, right, and I can train them in the systems and the processes that I've built, and then they can get their own offshore staff to help them build their business up. That's infinitely scalable. Do you know what I mean? I can continue to hire more onshore brokers to be the head honchos. Can hire more and more offshore staff to continue to support the brokers that we have onshore, and it gets to a point where the business doesn't even need me anymore. Do you know what I mean? You've got all the implementation taken care on the back end. You've got brokers taking care on the front end, and that's the end goal that's desirable here. Look, I think if you've got the business to the point where you're tapping out, and a lot of brokers complain about that they're tapping out, that they don't have the time, that there's so much admin. The only way for you to cross that hurdle is to continue to get help. Do you know what I mean? I think that I personally believe you could build a team of probably 5 offshore staff to improve efficiencies in one broker's life before it made more sense to hire other brokers to train up in your office. Do you know what I mean? So when you run the numbers, so it's just a matter of, if that's where you're at in business, you have to have a lash, you have to have a crack at it, and you need to do it. Otherwise, if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're just going to get the same results.